Chapter 14 is the three modes of material nature, and we are on text 3, which we have just read.
Open.
Prabhuji, I hand over to you. Prabhuji, would you like us to read the translation and the purport?
Yes. Would you like me to do that?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Mama.
Mama.
My.
My.
Yoni.
Yoni.
Source of birth.
Source of birth.
Source of birth.
Mahat.
Mahat.
Material existence.
The total
material existence.
Brahma.
Brahma.
Supreme.
In.
Tasmin.
In that.
Garbham.
Garbham.
Dadami.
Tadami. Create.
Aham.
Aham.
Aham. I.
Sambhava.
Sambhava.
The possibility.
The
possibility.
Sarvabhutanam.
Sarvabhutanam.
You're sleeping.
Tata. Bhavati.
Become.
Bharat.
Bharata.
O son of Bharata.
O son of
Bharata.
Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The total material substance called Brahman is the source of birth, and it is that Brahman that I impregnate, making possible the births of all living beings, O son of Bharat. Responsibly, the total material substance.
The total material substance.
Brahman.
Called Brahman.
Is the source of birth.
Is the source of birth.
Is the source of birth.
And it is that Brahman.
And it is that
Brahman. And it is that Brahman.
That I impregnate.
That I
impregnate.
Making possible.
Making possible.
The births of all living beings.
The birth of
all living beings.
O son of Bharata.
O son of Bharata.
O son of Bharata.
Purport. This is an explanation of the world. Everything that takes place is due to the combination of Kshetra and Kshetragya, the body and the soul. This combination of material nature and the living is possible by the Supreme God Himself. The Mahatattva is the total cause of the total cosmic manifestation, and that total substance of the material cause, in which there are three modes of nature, is sometimes called Brahman. The Supreme Personality impregnates that total substance, and thus innumerable universes become possible. This total material substance, the Mahatattva, is described as Brahman in the Vedic literature Mundaka Upanishad 119. Tasmad etad Brahma nam rupam anam cha jayate. The Supreme Person impregnates that Brahman with the seeds of the living entities. The 24 elements beginning from earth, water, fire, and air are all material energy, and they constitute what is called Mahad Brahma, of the great Brahman, the material nature. As explained in the 7th chapter, beyond this, there is another superior nature, the living entity. Into material nature, the superior nature is mixed by the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thereafter all living entities are born of this material nature. The scorpion lays its eggs in piles of rice, and sometimes it is said that the scorpion is born out of rice, but the rice is not the cause of the scorpion. Actually, the eggs were laid by the mother. Similarly, material nature is not the cause of the birth of the living entities. The seed is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they only seem to come out as products of material nature. Thus, every living entity, according to his past activities, has a different body created by this material nature, so that the entity can enjoy or suffer according to his past deeds. The Lord is the cause of all the manifestations of living entities in this material world. So this is a verse which is often quoted by Srila Prabhupada in his lectures and also in his writings. So this chapter is entitled The Three Modes of Material Nature. And at the end of this chapter, Srila Prabhupada will encourage us that we should understand it very carefully, taking help from our spiritual master. It's very important to understand what this world is and who we are, of course. And this chapter gives, like the 13th chapter, this 14th chapter gives a lot of detailed information. So the basic spiritual understanding we are accepting is that we are spirit, aham brahmasmi. The very beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. Natva evaham tunasam, natva memi janadi baha, achayvana bhavishmaha, sarve vayam taha param. And we may remember in the beginning of the second chapter, Lord Krishna elaborates the qualities of spirit. Na jayate, na mirate, bhakanachat, nayam bhutva, bhavata, bhuyaha, ajo, nitya, shashwata, yam, purano, na hanyate hanyamani sharire. Ashashwatam, without beginning, purano, eternal, without birth and death. Na jayate, na mirate, na means no. So na, jaya, birth, and na, no mrit, like mrityu, no mirate, death. In the 13th chapter, we heard how we are the soul who is full of consciousness and the source of consciousness of this body. If we put our finger by a little ant, the ant will move because the ant has consciousness. If we pinch someone's body very hard, we know what will happen. So, because there's consciousness, and no amount of material mixing can create consciousness or knowledge. In the beginning sentence of this purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that the combination of material nature and the living entity is made possible by the Supreme God himself. So God, as we know, means Param Brahma, Param, the Supreme Brahma, the Supreme. What is Brahma? Brahma is spirit, Chit, and Brahman, spirit has three main qualities. Who would like to say what those qualities are, or one of them? What are the three main categories of Brahman, or spirit?
Satchitanand.
Satchitananda. And what does that mean?
Truth, Sat, Chit, happiness, and always pervading.
Yes, Sat is eternal truth, Chit is knowledge, consciousness, and Ananda, bliss. So this is the nature of us. This is we, just like right now, we're looking at our computers, which are made of different elements. Our computer keyboard is made of plastic, and there's some metal in the computer, wires, right? And the chair, we are sitting on a chair, we're sitting on a couch, which is made of fabric of some kind, cloth and the room that we're in, the walls, they're made of wood and stone, right? So there's different elements. So spirit is another element. Many people are not aware of that, but we are. And that element, spirit, just like plastic can be made into a keyboard and metal can be shaped into a car. So spirit is not without form. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha, with form. So what is the difficulty? We can take clay, wood, stone, and we can make a statue or sculpture. So why can't spirit have form? Ice can be made into different shapes by someone who knows how to do it. So spirit is another element. And so chit, that the Brahman is full of knowledge, just like we have knowledge. We have knowledge. We understand this is a computer screen. This is a man talking. I am breathing air. So we have knowledge, we have awareness. And that awareness, Srila Prabhupada points out indirectly, is possible by the supreme consciousness. This is the point that Srila Prabhupada is making, and which is very, very simple. When someone says, well, how can there be God? Well, first, let's understand what we mean by God. When we have a discussion, it's a good idea to make sure the two people are talking about the same thing, or there's going to be a problem. So if we're going to talk to someone about what God is, first, it's a good idea that, well, what's your understanding of God? What are the main qualities of God? Because if we're not on the same page, it's not going to work. So we understand God as to be the source of everything, the creator of everything. So the source of everything. So how could the source, so the point is, we hear Srila Prabhupada making this point, and Lord Krishna makes this point, that how can we, who are full of consciousness and emotions and feelings and plans, how can that come from nothing? It doesn't make any sense. How can we come from an impersonal spirit? There are some people who say there's a spiritual nature, but it has no consciousness, which doesn't make any sense, because how did cauliflower come about? If the spirit has no thinking, then how a cauliflower or a zebra or an ant? How can we have the ability to do poetry and write music? It doesn't make any sense. Although for some people, for many of us, the alternative is beyond, our mind cannot understand it. Because the obvious alternative is that the source must have poetry ability, sculpturing ability, cooking ability, consciousness and knowledge, must. So, of course, God and the source of everything is beyond our complete comprehension. When someone says to us, sometimes people of certain religions will say, well, you can't understand God. So instead of arguing, we can say, yes, we cannot understand God completely. And we could say to the person, you understand that God is great, right? And they'll say, yes. You understand that God is the Father, right? Yes. So it's not that God cannot be understood, but he cannot be understood completely. And if the other person is not hot-headed, they should agree with us that, yes, you're right. So this verse goes on to explain that this entire creation is made of spirit and matter. Just like we are inside this body, So the Supreme Spirit, Paramatma, is within this entire universe. And this entire universe with all the planets is the body, in a sense, the external body of Paramatma, of Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu is everywhere. He is conscious of everything. He is in the keyboard. He is in the chair we're sitting on, although he doesn't take offense that we're sitting, sitting on him. He is in the ceiling. He is in the toenails of our body. Yes, but he is conscious. He is just like we are conscious. If someone touches us on the shoulder right now, we'll know it. So in the same way, God or Krishna, he is everywhere, and we can be conscious of him. And if we think of him, if we put our attention upon him, he will especially notice us, think of us. He is always conscious of us. But when we think of Krishna and meditate on him, it is like ringing a bell. And you're thinking of him. Just like we see in ordinary material society, when one person looks at another person, it's almost automatic the other person will look back. This is especially true between men and women. You look at someone, they will look back, and they may turn away, but they look. It is almost mystical how that works. So in the same way, when we look towards Krishna, when we think of Krishna, we meditate on the holy name, we meditate on the deity form of Krishna, it attracts his attention. That's the point. It attracts his attention. As we become attracted to him, he becomes attracted to us. He is always caring for us, but when we pay attention to him, he reciprocates, he pays attention back to us. We may remember that Srila Prabhupada writes that by chanting Hare Krishna, it attracts us to him and attracts Krishna to us. Isn't this how it works? Between two people who are becoming friends, as one person pays attention to the other person, and especially if they do it in a way which is pleasing to the other person, then a relationship naturally develops. It's automatic. So Krishna is the supreme person. And if we pay attention to him and we say nice things about him, and we obviously respect him and are trying to appreciate him, then like any other person, he's going to notice. And he's going to pay more attention to us. So this is the devotee relationship. The devotee is a soul who is awakening to the relationship with Krishna and attempting to act in that relationship by acknowledging Krishna. Yes, you exist. By offering respect to Krishna and gratefulness to Krishna, thankfulness, and service. So in this purport, there's some technical information about how Krishna, he impregnates this material nature. Just like a scorpion, you may see scorpions in rice, and then they lay eggs. So someone may think that scorpions come from rice, but actually there's eggs there. Or sometimes we see ants, they seem to come from nowhere because the mother ant has laid eggs. But we may not have seen her do that. So we, the soul, are put within this material nature. We may have heard that at the time of conception, according to our past desires and what we deserve, we're put in a particular body at the time of conception. And in this way, this whole world is going on. Ultimately, in the very beginning, all the souls are at some initial point placed into particular bodies. Tasmad etad Brahma nama rupam anam cha jayate. The Supreme Person impregnates the Brahman with the seeds of the living entity. So we are all children of God. Everyone, everything. The zebras, the elephants, the snakes, the ants, the humans, everyone, the birds, fish. We are all children of God, tiny spiritual children of God, and we all have different bodies, but we're all the same, as we talked about in the previous class. The individual soul is one, which means that we're all the same. The soul in the body of the fish, the zebra, the snake, the bird, the man next door. It's the same spiritual spark. And by the will of Krishna and according to our destiny, we are put into this material nature, into different material bodies. The longer history is that at some point, this whole universe is destroyed, and it goes into the body of Lord Mahavishnu. Everything, the whole, just like you can think of like a piece of paper, and you crumple it up and you throw it in the trash can, and it's gone. So that's a rough idea. So everything, all the planets, the sun, the stars, it's all crumpled up and it's gone. It's in the body of Lord Mahavishnu. And then after a very long time, it manifests again into the universes. So this is the amazing, gigantic, infinite understanding of what's going on. You know, we just like, I'm sure we've seen ants, ant hills, and the ants are very busy. They're very busy all day. I think they go quiet at night, but during the day, they're very busy going out, getting food and bringing it back. And sometimes a number of ants are carrying a small bug, and they're very busy. And it's a very structured society. Bees also have a very structured, organized society. It's amazing. But it's very doubtful they have any consciousness of Nairobi Airport. They're not conscious of the Nairobi government, the Kenyan government. They're not conscious of what we're cooking in our house, right? They have their own little world, and that's what they're focused on. And it's a very intricate, real world, temporarily. And the rain comes and washes it away. But so in the same way, we humans, we're so tiny in this vast universe, and we're very busy in different things. And it's not hard to forget the bigger picture. So this, I think, we'll end on, or we'll stop for a moment, that this verse helps us to remember the bigger picture of existence, which is huge, huge. It's good to, necessary, not just good, necessary to meditate upon the greatness of Krishna, especially in the beginning stages of bhakti. We are instructed that until we are completely free of sex desire, or just about, we should be very careful to focus upon the energy, the material energy, the greatness, how Krishna manifests his energies in this world. At the same time, we hear about Krishna, his internal Leela, as the son of Mother Jashoda and the friend of Arjuna, his different pastimes in Vrindavan and Mathura and Dwarka. We must hear about Lord Krishna's, all his different Leela. But we are directly instructed to do this. In fact, in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is instructed that at the beginning and the end of each day, a human should meditate upon the Virat Rupa, should take time to think about how God is the source of everything and his energy is everything. This keyboard, computer screen, it is Krishna's energy. When I wash the dishes at night, I am washing Krishna in the sense that it is Krishna's energy. It is his. And actually, it is him in an energetic form. True. When we dust the walls of the house, we are dusting Krishna in the sense that it is Krishna's energy. So there's nothing separate. So by hearing Bhagavad Gita and hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, especially the first and second cantos, this helps us to become very grounded in a very real way so that we can feel Krishna's presence in our daily life. You know, Krishna is not just, don't mean to say that, but Krishna is not only Dashoda Nandana, running from Mother Dashoda with tears in his eyes in the spiritual world, but Krishna is here right now as his energy, and he's also within the energy as Paramatma. So in this way, we can feel Krishna more always, not just when we hear the spiritual pastimes of Vrindavan or Goloka Vrindavan. So this is very important. We want to feel Krishna. We want to see Krishna, don't we? We don't want to just hear about Krishna and it sounds very good, but what about my experience of Krishna? And we are supposed to become God realized, each and every one of us. The whole goal of human life is to become God conscious. You and me and all of us, not just the guru. We, the whole idea of having a spiritual master so that we can develop realization of God and ourselves. So I'll stop here. We can have discussion, comments, questions.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for enlightening us, especially to see the bigger picture. I mean, as you were describing, I could see how small, tiny speck, even a little, even tinier than a speck of dust, how everything is interconnected and how all the energies are of Krishna.
Interconnected. We are not disconnected. Sometimes I feel, sometimes we feel, where is Krishna? But actually we are very connected.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhuji. Are there any questions or comments?
Hare Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Kirtikaji. Prabhuji, could you please repeat that line when you said in the very beginning of spiritual journey, you are encouraged to do what, Prabhuji?
Well, it's not written in this specific text and purport, but you'll find it in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, that the neophyte devotees should be very careful not to neglect meditating upon and trying to understand how Krishna is present in this material world and how he is connected. It's there in Bhagavad Gita, that verse. If you read the 10th chapter, you will find similar. Lord Krishna says, Aham savasya prabhava mata savam pravartante iti matva janti mam buddha bhava samanvataha. So he says, there are those who worship me with all their heart. And there is a reason why they worship him with all their hearts. Does anyone remember what that verse is? Aham savasya prabhava mata savam pravartante. Partha? You remember that?
Yes, Prabhuji. Pardon, Prabhu?
What that verse, the 10th chapter, Aham savasya prabhava mata savam pravartante. You remember the approximately, what does that mean?
Yes. It means Krishna told everything is emanates from him. And Mata Sarva Pravartate? Uh, and who is the knows this truth? The Buddha, the intelligent person who knows this one. Buddha Bhava Samannita. He knows me, all the causes of all the cause, and he comes to me like that, Prabhu.
Yes.
Aham sarvasya prabhu. Yeah, I am the cause of all causes. Aham sarvasya prabhu mata sarva pravartante, and everything emanates from me. Iti matva bhajante mam Buddha Bhava Samannita. To know this truth, all the intelligent person, they attach with me and worship me.
Yes, so just see what the qualification is. And also, I forget the chapter. Maybe you remember. Bahunam janmanamante yanabamam prapatinte vasudevam savamiti sa mahatma. I think second chapter. That again, after many births and deaths, Bahunam janmanamante yanabamam prapatinte vasudevam savamiti sa. So who becomes the Mahatma? Partha Prem. Who becomes the Mahatma? Who is the Mahatma according to that verse?
Yes, Prabhuji. Who knows the Krishna is the cause of all causes.
So I'm making the point. Yeah. Yes. It's very important for us, and it doesn't. We don't have to be a scholar. We don't need to. You know, Bhagavad Gita is written in very simple English or other languages. So we just have to hear Bhagavad Gita. It doesn't require a very big brain or anything. But we do have to hear Bhagavad Gita so we can learn about the greatness of Krishna and how he's interconnected to everything. You know, one thing that we can appreciate, that if we're feeling that our devotion is not as strong we feel that it could be, or if we're seeing others whose devotion is fixed, it could be, then what does it mean? It could very well be that their understanding of Krishna is insufficient, or they're forgetting. You see, it's very, or especially for initiated devotees, if we're not feeling as enthused as we did before, or if we want to be more enthused, then we want is to focus upon the quality of our relationship with our spiritual master. In other words, we go to the very root. Because if someone is appreciating their spiritual master, and you ask them, oh, Prabhu, could you do this? Then you would expect them to say yes, right? Because if they're conscious, they're appreciating, oh, my spiritual master is so great, he's done so much for me. And then if someone asks them, could you do this service for him? Then of course they'll say yes. I mean, they may not be able to, at least they'll be willing. And if they are not willing, or if they get upset, what does that mean? It means that they have forgotten, to some degree, their relationship with their spiritual master. Krishna. You see that?
Yes,
you see how Kirtika?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, our enthusiasm, one of the largest factors is the quality of our relationship with Krishna and our spiritual master. If we feel that it's becoming weak, then we should focus on those two. Simple. I mean, aside from, of course, we all have different obstacles, but at least the willingness, the enthusiasm within we may be, God forbid, a paraplegic, completely paralyzed. But if we are awake, then at least within our heart, we'll have enthusiasm. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. But that's very, that's something that Lord Krishna speaks about, and it's very, very valuable so that we can understand how we're doing or how someone else is doing in terms of their devotion. Just like if you're managing a temple or a family, and you see that some of the family members or the members of the community are not as enthused, then perhaps they need to hear about Krishna more. The awareness level needs to be raised. It needs to be refreshed. Therefore, we have the morning and evening meditation or sadhana to keep us awake. Any other questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, any other questions or comments?
Prabhuji, may I ask another question, please?
Yes.
Prabhuji, I know from the Narsingh Dev and Prahlad story that Krishna is in Krishna is in inanimate objects, because Prahlad said to his father, yes, he is in the pillar. Prabhuji, you said this is Krishna's energy. Could you please explain a little bit more?
Yes.
What does that
Just
mean? Thank you.
Says, everything is God. It is, and it is. And the simple example that we can give is the cow and milk. You know, the milk is the cow in the sense that it's the energy of the cow, but it's not the cow. When we have a cup of milk, we don't have a 800-pound cow in our cup, do we?
No.
No, there's a difference. But it's the same and it's different at the same time. It's different in some ways and it's the same in other ways. Okay? This is not too difficult to understand as long as someone is willing. And then the same way with God. Everything that we see is the energy of God. And in that sense, it is him. But it's not him completely in all possible ways. It's God's energy, but it's actually of him.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Is that clearer?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
So as we advance in our Krishna consciousness, we take even better care, or we should, of the things that we have. We take better care of our family. We do our job better. We take care of our house better than we might, or at least as good, because we actually feel that this is Krishna. This is Krishna's, he owns it, and it is his energy. It's his, and it's him. These are not just my family members, they're of Krishna. They're just, temporarily, I have a relationship. And, well, we are eternally related, but as family members, we have certain relationships that are temporary. But we should be very careful to take care of them. I should take very good care of my mother and my father, understanding that they're part of Krishna. See, we can understand that this transcendental responsibility helps to keep things more solid. You know, if I'm only doing something because I like it, you know, or I want to do things for someone because I like them. But what if you don't like them? Then what? Just like we see many relationships have difficulties because of occasionally there's, you know, the degree of liking each other or loving each other goes down. But if we have this added understanding of devotion to Krishna, then it helps everything, our whole life, to be more stable. Do you see that?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Very helpful. Thank you,
Yeah.
Prabhuji.
You want your husband to be more stable working? Help him be Krishna conscious.
Yes, Prabhuji, I think your explanation that even if you don't like a person, or even if you don't warm up to that person, you still see him as Krishna's energy, and to serve him the way you would serve Krishna. I mean, I think this is a practice ground that we are in. And these little gestures that we are doing, or the little emotions that we are putting in people that we like and not like, will probably take us further in our devotional service. Because it's all right to say, okay, I want to be a devotee and I want to serve Krishna, but how do we serve Krishna? I think we have to practice and get perfect in our day-to-day relationships.
I think I shared it's in some class.
Yes, Prabhuji, you mentioned that, and I'm remembering that now.
Anymore because I had an argument with the temple manager, which is sometimes we do, but Krishna should not suffer for it. Krishna is still there. He needs his offerings, and Radharani needs her garlands, and so therefore we see past that. Whatever that is, I don't know, but I need to keep taking care of Krishna.
That's right, Prabhuji. Thank you. Thank you for reminding us. And it's very important because it's very easy to forget. We like whom we like and we don't like whom we don't like. We forget the interconnection.
Yes, thank you. Well, so we get together. I'm reminding myself as well. Any other comments or questions?
If there are no more.
The people that you don't want to come back to you and you don't warm up to them, should you still serve them? Because if you serve them, they can think, oh, well, I can go back to them. But maybe we don't want to be hurt by them again. Or so it's a bit tricky and to kind of.
Srila Prabhupada advises we should be friendly. We don't necessarily have to have it, just like we know people in the neighborhood or at work, and we say, good morning, how are you? And that's about as far as our conversation goes. So if a particular relationship is a disturbance, or we find it a disturbance in our life, then we don't have to, depending, of course, if you're married, no marriage should ever, marriage is very sacred, and every effort should be made to keep it. But just in ordinary friendships and people that we don't have that kind of relationship with, we don't have to. We can choose without becoming hateful. Or we can be friendly, but only to assert. There's a story in this regard that we be very careful of who we open our heart to. So there was a monkey that wanted to cross a river, and the crocodile offered to carry the monkey, and the crocodile wanted to eat the monkey's heart. And the monkey got on the crocodile's back, and halfway across the river, the crocodile stopped, and the monkey said, why? Well, I want to eat your heart. So the monkey said, this monkey was very smart. And the monkey said, oh, that's a good idea, but I left my heart back on the shore. So take me back. So of course, crocodiles aren't so smart. So the moral is that we may be friendly with someone, but we should be very selective who we open our heart's feelings with. Who we tell what we're feeling. That's a different level of relationship. That should only be with people who are healthy to have a relationship with. Just like at work. At work or with a neighbor, we may be friendly, but you don't want to tell them your problems necessarily or how you're feeling about different things, because that opens the door for attachment. So we should be very careful. Would you like to ask something more on this?
Prabhuji, very nice story. I'm going to be meditating on this today. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Mansiganga Mataji had some comments.
Yeah.
Mataji.
No, not comments, question, clarification. Prabhu, like you said, that kind of we don't have to keep up a relationship, if it's detrimental. so what happens if it's with a devotee who you had a very close connection, and now suddenly you feel like his way is not what is your way and you want to cut it off? Is it offensive, or is it, like, you think you're right and you think, okay, you want to cut off this relationship because it's not good for your own spiritual life, or even forgiveness for that matter? Do you do it verbally or you can do it in your mind?
We could do it in
I mean, if it's a close devotee. Sorry?
Yeah. I mean, like a friend or acquaintance or a relative?
More or less a relationship with a devotee on close quarter.
Yes. Well, we can simply express our feelings politely. That
anger, hatred, abuses, is that how we express our feelings?
No. Rather, I was going to say we can express ourselves humbly. That I'm not finding myself capable of relating with you in the way that I would like. And I need time to reflect and consider and understand how I can relate with you in the way that would be healthy and positive. So for some time, I may not be speaking with you as much or at all, because isn't that what's going on? We're finding ourselves having a challenge to relate with this person in a way that we would like or that would be ideal. And that must be because of something, although the person may have offered ingredients or some reasons for us to feel that way, depending upon our Krishna consciousness, it may be difficult. Sorry, there's a hospital with helicopters.
Gone.
We
Okay.
simply express our truth, the truth of the situation, firmly. It's called asserting. We assert our feelings and we assert our needs, but we do it in a polite way.
That's the trouble, Prabhuji. The thing is, this is a personal thing I'm asking. You're seething with anger. Of course, the person is much younger than you. They just feel like abusing her and shouting and screaming instead of being humble or polite. I agree with what you said, that you take time, you give yourself time to even accept the situation and accept whatever. But I'm finding it so difficult not to express my anger.
Yes. Well, there's different ways. If you go on the internet, do a search how to positively or healthfully express anger, you'll find some usual suggestions in that regard, what to do about that. And of course, we pray to Krishna for strength. And we can also express our feelings, if possible. That do you remember when you were speaking to me yesterday or last week? I wanted you to know that I felt angry by the way you were speaking to me. I felt hurt. We don't say that they made me angry. We don't say that we don't accuse them of anything. We just express how we feel and to help them become aware of it. And this is called compassionate communication. Compassionate communication. And I suggest the devotees look for that on the internet. Compassionate communication. It's 4 or 5 techniques how to express ourselves in a way which is more healthy and which will bring about better relationships. Compassionate communication. Very, very powerful. And it's there in a different name within our bhakti literatures, but you'll find it summarized if you look for it.
And where does forgiveness fit in this?
Well, you may remember in the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada gives some really good purports that I have found helpful, but he has given them, that when a devotee is in a challenging position, they don't become their enemy's enemy because they think this person is acting this way because of my own past misdeeds. And the person that I should be angry with is myself, because what did I do to experience this? And that's it's something that we practice, and it will become easier as we practice, but it's a fact. This person is being rude because I must have been rude to someone. I'm only getting back what I gave someone else. Why am I complaining? And Krishna is only giving me less. But that doesn't mean the other person should just go free, or that nothing should be said to them. That my wife is screaming at me, she's very abusive repeatedly. Well, I deserve it. Well, yes, you probably do in different ways. But at the same time, she should not be allowed to just go on without raising her awareness. That do you realize when you speak like that, I feel very hurt, or I felt hurt, or whatever the expression may be. So there's two sides to it. One is that I can be more humble and I can feel more calm. I can feel more peaceful. And something can be done so that the other person stops acting, if they are, in a way which is not acceptable. And it's not that we allow people to steal from us because, well, it's my karma and this thief is, yes, it is. But the thief should be put in jail. The thief should be call the police, even if it's a devotee. You call the police and have them be disciplined. Just like Jesus. Srila Prabhupada gives the example of Jesus. Father, forgive them. So he had this calmer mentality because he wasn't blaming them. What is there to forgive if someone is blameless? So that takes practice. It takes practice. And Krishna will put us in situations so that we can practice this. And we can become look at Srila Prabhupada near the end of his stay here. He's so calm and peaceful and cheerful. Actually, he was translating right hours before he left. So there is one very great ideal of someone who internalized that whatever's happening is the will of Krishna, and doesn't become angry at the disease, doesn't become angry at God, doesn't just takes full responsibility. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that we just let people do things, either. Or if we can't change them, then we don't associate with them. If a devotee is just hard to associate with and there doesn't seem like anything can be done, then we don't associate with them. And perhaps that's a message. And eventually they'll ask, why aren't other devotees associating with me? And Krishna will let them know, because you're not acting very nice. Does that all make sense?
Yes, Prabhu. Your last sentence made a lot of sense. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's not easy, but it's actually something that we can actually make progress with it amazingly.
Very nice, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. I think it's helped us all. Haribol, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I think we have reached our end today. If there are no more questions or comments, I'll hand over to Path Prabhuji. Path Prabhuji, kindly end the session.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for your nice explanation. Also, the answers of the questions of our devotees. And nice, you are giving the example in this text number 3, how the Krishna's energy is all everywhere, all pervading. And everything comes from Krishna's energy. We are so grateful, Prabhu, for your association. You are giving your presence and your lecture. I request all the devotees, please unmute yourself and chant Hare Krishna mantra for glorification of His grace, Dina Sharana Prabhuji. Please join. Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Panchakalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhumayena patitanyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai,
Grace Dina Sharana Prabhuji ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.